Please confirm with me that you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Good. So
Yes, sir.
wonderful. So let's look at that test. Okay. The first thing you were obviously asked to do was to open the file improvements, which you all did, and I was happy with. Okay. No issues there. Then we were asked to, on the projection worksheet, to zoom to 100%. Okay. So let me just close this. I don't think I need that open. So the projection worksheet in this case is already pre-selected for me. I can't remember if on one of the videos we discussed the zooming, but I was happy because I think you all were able to do it. Remember, we also looked at help. The reason we looked at help is that even if you come across something which is maybe a little bit new to you, you can always still get help from the computer. So you shouldn't ever feel stuck or ever feel like there's something you can't quite do, because you can access the help feature. So at the bottom right of the worksheet, you obviously needed to have selected projection, which is the one that has this information. To zoom, it's just adjusting here. It's 130, zoomed at 130. So it's just clicking on the minus and then setting at 100%. As you can see, everything has become a little bit smaller. That's what you needed to do there. Let's look at the next question. Then the question 3 says widen column A so that the contents are fully visible. Okay, so why column A here, there are some things which you can't quite read. Architects, looks like fees there, electricals, work, but kitchen refurb, we're not sure. So to widen a column, there are two ways. You can position your mouse pointer between A and B and double click, or you can click and drag. I'm going to use the double click option. Okay, so that's what you needed to have done for that. Then format the cell range F5 to F11 to percentage with no decimal places. Okay, F5 to F, let me double check that. It's F5 to F11, so I needed to select F5 to F11. That's the cell range there. Okay. And to format it to percentage with no decimal places, I simply click on the percentage symbol there. There are no numbers, so what I would have done in an exam was just to put a number in there in one of the cells just to see what the answer is. So say I type 5 and then I press enter. That's just for me to check if it has formatted as the question has asked me to. It says 5% there. There are no decimal symbols, so that's fine. Had there been decimal symbols, I would have just simply needed to use under the number format section to increase or decrease. I can add, if I wanted to increase, if I do that, it gives me decimal places. And if I click on the other arrow, it's removing decimal places. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. Question 5 asks me to enter a function to calculate a minimum. I didn't expect you to know how to do this. You could have used the help feature to understand that. I will still demonstrate and show you, because this is something that we will get to learn as we continue to study how to use Excel. So in cell B15, formula to calculate the total for cell range B5 to B10. So let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so total here, what I would have done is under formulas. And if I go to auto sum and I just click on auto sum, that button, you will see that it puts a little formula in the formula bar there, equals sum open bracket B5 to B10, and it's also highlighted the cell range. That is the formula I'm looking for. If I press enter, it has actually calculated, and if I had a calculator and if I added all these up, I would actually get 16,900. And then to copy that formula across, there is what's called autofill. We've used autofill before. You can also use autofill to copy formulas. So if I position my mouse pointer at the bottom right corner and I click on the using my mouse, and then if I drag across, like that, all the formulas are also copied and all the totals for everything are also copied. This is the reason why Excel is such a powerful software, because it really helps us to do stuff which could possibly take us quite a long time to do. Maybe I would have to use a calculator to add up all of those figures. Here at the click of a button, I get the answer. Okay. So I didn't expect you to know how to do that, but I'm just answering these questions, all of them for you. Question 6 asked us to format the cell range B3 to E17 with currency, that euro sign, B3 to E17. I think that's the range there. Okay. I need to be on the home page. Then currency, if I click on this down arrow, the option for currency is this one. Okay, let's have a quick look there. The option for currency that I'm getting there is giving me US dollar. So that's not quite the option that I'm looking for. So I'm going to click on this down arrow for the group to get more information. And then here I have this dialog box that's opened, which shows me that I've selected currency, but it's not quite the one I'm looking for. What I want is the euro symbol. So if I click on this down arrow for symbols, I will need to look for the symbol that I need, which is the euro one. I was quite pleased. I think not everyone seemed to get this one, but it looked okay. Okay. The symbol looks to me like this English Ireland one. It's very similar. They all look quite the same, but the euro one, I guess, is this one. There's two options for euro. One where the euro symbol is at the beginning, one where the euro symbol is at the end. I think the one we are asked for is the one where it's at the beginning. Perhaps let me quickly double check that. It doesn't really state whether the euro symbol should be at the beginning or at the end. I'll put it at the beginning because in most cases that's what we are kind of used to.
Sorry, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Please, Rowan forgot. He didn't see your message of the ICT lesson starting. So please, can you send him that link, sir, directly to his number, because I don't know what's wrong. I can't send the link to him.
I'll do that. Perfect. Thanks a lot, Hein. I appreciate that. Thank you for following up. Thank you for following up on him, and I will do exactly what you've asked me to do. Good job. It's always good to look after each other. Well done. I'm very impressed. That's working together as a class. I have done exactly what you've asked me to do, and I'm sure you'll join us shortly. Okay. Thank you, Hein. Any questions on the revision I've done so far? We are almost done. We are left with just 6 more questions.
No, sir.
Good. So let's move on to question 7. It asks, it says rename sheet 3 worksheet so that it's meaningful and relates to the worksheet content. Again, I was pleased with this. Sheet 3, if I click on it, there is Rowan joining us now. Super stuff. There we go. Welcome, Rowan. Welcome, Rowan. Now, you could have given this worksheet a name, which is just relevant. For me, what I'll probably do is the title here is plumbing. So I think a meaningful name would probably be plumbing. I wouldn't have minded if you did that. So to rename a worksheet, this one is called sheet 3. I right click on the sheet where it says sheet 3, and then I say rename, and then I'm going to call it plumbing. Then I press enter. Okay, and my worksheet has now been renamed. It's no longer sheet 3. You're not really going to be clear on what is there. The other ones were quite clear: projection, the one which we were working on, and then the other one was loan. So you can kind of tell what information is being looked at there. So I've just renamed this one. Perhaps plumbing expenses could have been another meaningful name, but I just called that one plumbing. Okay, Then I did apologize last week about the slight error in this. You obviously needed to save question 8 was supposed to come right at the end. And then question 9 was asking modification for row height to be 22.5 pixels. Now, it wasn't very clear which worksheet that was supposed to be. So if you modified the row height on any of the worksheets, it wasn't a problem. I think most of you did so for the projection worksheet. Okay, and the cell range was rows 3 to 14. So it was just a question of selecting those, and then modifying. It's then clicking and dragging after selecting to 22.5, which is what I've done there. 22.5. There we go. Okay. If you changed and modified the rows for any other question, that was still fine, because the question was not very, very clear. Okay. Then delete row 10. Again, it wasn't 100% clear which row 10. Again, I didn't mind which of the worksheets you deleted the row in. So it's just a question of, I will do so on the projection worksheet. You select the row, right click it, delete. You'll notice in this case where I put formulas and entered the formulas, the figures have changed because some of the information has changed. Okay, then insert a column to the left of column C. Again, it didn't quite make sense because these questions were coming from a question paper that you've done before. It didn't really matter which worksheet you changed. The thing that we were just looking for, I was looking for there was, do you know how to insert a column? Right, so it was just insert a column, secondary contact. Okay, secondary contact. Okay, so that was going to be fine. And in cell 2, and then wrap the text. So if I click on the cell secondary contact to wrap the text, there should be an option for wrapping text. I'm trying to see if I can find it here. If something is not immediately visible, I think wrapping text should be this one. Yeah. It's under the alignment group. It's this little button, which has A, B, C. There's a little arrow for C there. I would have tried to right click and see if that would have, if there would have been an option there as well. I found it there. There might have been another way to do it. I'm just trying to see format cells, right click, format cells, and then under alignment, there is also the option there that says wrap text. So that's one way to do it. Right click, select alignment group, and then go to wrap text. Again, if you're not sure of something, you could always ask for help, but there is also a button in the alignment group, wrap text. So if I click on it, you will see that the text there has been wrapped. Merge and center cells A1 to F. A1 to F1. Okay. Merge and center is that button. Okay. Now, this question, I didn't then expect you to have known how to do it, because I wouldn't have expected you to answer, because there was part C, which also has information. Normally, merge and center works if there's just information in one cell. This is why there's this error message. So there were a few issues with some of the questions. That's how you would have merged and centered. And you will notice now that secondary contact information has gone. Okay, so I didn't really mark the wrapping of text, because when you merge and center, some information gets lost. Then hide the billing address and phone numbers. That you couldn't have done, because that question was only relevant for some other question paper. Okay, any questions on the homework? On the test, rather?
No, sir.
Okay, so that's what you were expected to do. I'll ask you to do corrections. So if there's anything that you didn't do, which you should have done in the test, I'll then ask you to do some corrections there. Okay. Welcome, Rowan. Right.
I
So past 12. Now that we are done with revision of the test, we want to look at week number 7, okay, which is exploring number formats. Okay, so the number formats that we want to explore is your general number format, percentage, date, current date, increasing, decreasing decimals. That's what we want to look at. So we are going to start on that, and we are going to continue in the next lesson that I see you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stop my screen share, then I'm going to play the first video, understanding number formats, and then in the next lesson I will play adding the current date to a cell, and then we will look at the skills, and then you'll be ready for your assignment, which is due this week. So I want to just stop my screen share and then re-share my screen to allow me to share sound, and then I'll play a video clip as we introduce the topic for today for our lessons. Right. So let me go ahead and play this, and I'm going to mute myself. Any issue with the sound, please let me know. Otherwise, I've enabled it to share sound with you, system to share sound. So I'm just going to mute myself so that there is no echo, and then I'll play the first video on number formats.
Goodwill Community Foundation, creating opportunities for a better life.
You may have already noticed that Excel allows you to type just about anything into your worksheet. Along with text, you can use many different kinds of numbers, such as decimals, percentages, dollar amounts, dates, and more. To do this, Excel uses a feature called number formats, and it's really important to understand how they work. Number formats tell Excel exactly what type of data you're using. When you enter something into a cell, Excel will try to apply the right number format automatically. For example, watch what happens when we enter a calendar date into this cell, such as 1/1/2015 for January 1st. If you look at the number format drop-down menu on the Home tab, you'll see that this cell is now using the date number format. This tells Excel that we're working with a calendar date and not another type of number. If you click the drop-down menu, you'll see that there are several other number formats to choose from. The general format at the top is the default number format for every cell in your spreadsheet. When Excel isn't able to guess what type of data you're using, it'll usually just leave the general number format applied to that cell. You know, in this example, I think I'd like to modify the number format to use the long date option instead. That way, it'll be easier to read in our spreadsheet. And there we go. When you select a cell with number formatting, you'll see the actual value of that cell in the formula bar. So, the long date number format hasn't changed the actual data in our cell, it only changes the way it's displayed. And number formats don't just make our data easier to read. For example, since Excel understands that this is a calendar date, we can use the fill handle in the lower right corner of the cell to continue this series of dates. So now we have January 2nd, January 3rd, and so on. Definitely a lot easier than entering each of these one by one. Unfortunately, Excel doesn't always understand what we're trying to type the same way that a person would. And because of this, Excel requires you to enter your data in a pretty specific way. For example, watch what happens when we type January 1st in this cell. As you can see, the number format has not changed. This cell is still just using the general number format, and that means Excel didn't understand what we wanted. It also means our fill handle isn't going to work correctly. Instead, it just copies the data from this first cell, which isn't what we want. To fix this, we'll need to change this value to something Excel can understand, such as 1/1/2015, or just January 1 without the ST. There we go. So you can see that Excel has applied a custom date format to this cell. And that's because it understood what we wanted. And now, just like before, we can see the cell's actual value in the formula bar. And we can even use the fill handle to continue this series of dates. Let's take a look at another useful but potentially confusing number format: percentages. Remember how we said before that certain data needs to be entered in a certain way? Well, when you type a number followed by the percent sign and press enter, the percentage number format will be applied automatically to that cell. In this example, let's say that we're working with an 8% sales tax rate. Now, as you may remember from math class, percentages can also be written as a decimal number. For example, if I change the number format for this cell back to general, it'll appear as 0.08, which is just another way of writing 8%. I point this out mainly because it's easy to make a mistake with percentage formatting if you're not being careful. For example, if we type 8 into an empty cell and then apply percentage formatting afterward, Excel will think that we meant 800%, which isn't even close to what we wanted. In our experience, it's best just to include the percent sign whenever you're entering a percentage into Excel. That way there's much less risk of making a mistake like this. Okay, there's just one last thing we'd like to point out. Below the number format drop-down menu, you'll see these small buttons with a left and right arrow. These commands allow you to control how many decimal places are displayed in your cell. As an example, let's say I'm working with a currency value like $19.95. Now, as you can see, Excel automatically applied currency formatting when we included the dollar sign in this cell. Now you can show more decimal places to increase precision, or show fewer to simplify your data, or even round it to the nearest whole number. Just like before, we're not changing the actual value of this cell, as we can see in the formula bar. We're just making it easier to read in our spreadsheet. Now that you know how number formats work, take some time to ensure that you're using them correctly in your spreadsheet.
Okay, so that's a little bit on number formatting. What we want to look at when you come back at 12 is we've already discussed a bit of information on number formats. We've looked at a video. We want to continue with number formats, and there's some material that we will go through which will help us to practice working and using those number formats. Are there any questions from the video that we watched? We will do a little bit of practical work, and I'll make a file available for you. Any questions so far?
No, sir. I don't have any questions.
Okay. Good. So that's it for now. After, when you come back, we will look at another very short video clip, and then we will do a little bit of practical work, and then I'll set you up to do this week's assignment, and then that will be it. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Thank you. See you soon.